You're listening to WSBU 88.3 The Buzz here at St. Bonaventure up in the Riley Center. And I am your news director, Kavathas, and I'm here with my special guest, Aaron Chimbel, the Dean of the Jandoli School of Communication. And of course, we've saved the best for last in my interview series here. I want to welcome all of our on-air and online listeners. I'll be asking Aaron some questions about the Bolder Bonaventure Ignite, Inspire, Invest campaign, which is the largest campaign in the university's 164-year history. But this time we'll be specifically relating to the Jandoli pillar. I'll also be taking your questions. I know how Jandoli alumni would love to ask some questions here. So tweet the Buzz's Twitter account at WSBU, tag the account while using the hashtag #BolderBonaventure along with your class year and post your question there and we'll take them. So to get this started, I know you've been up here before. We mentioned it a little bit, but how do you feel to be here now?
It's great. I'll feel better when we have a nicer facility for the Buzz and all of our student media, but it's always good to be up here talking with our students, with you and Nate and Tom. It's good to see you.
Awesome. So what would this campaign really mean for Jandoli and the Murphy building?
Complete game changer for the Jandoli School and the Murphy building. I think when people see the plans and what we want to do with the Murphy building, they're like, wait, is this the same building? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the point, is that we do want to change it, because if you think about over the last 40 years since the Murphy building opened, how much journalism, media, how we communicate has changed. It's changed in almost every conceivable way, yet the facility we have for our students has not had many changes to it over that time. So it's really important for the students in the Jandoli School, and for folks who may not remember, it used to be when the Murphy building opened, Meekum building back in the 80s, it was actually the business school and what's now the Jandoli School in there together, and of course the business schools in Swan now. So the updated Murphy building will be the Jandoli School's home, and the Jandoli School will be the primary tenant there. So it's really important that we create the type of facility that we need for our students now and in the future that's reflective of the media landscape they will experience. One of the challenges, Murphy building, if you've been there, it's all cinder block. So it was built in a time where things were very fixed and not the collaborative type of spaces that our students need now.
Mm-hmm. So how does this really help the next generation of J School students and even alumni now?
I think it will be the experience that future Jandoli School students will be a much more collaborative experience, much more of the latest technology and equipment. So for example, right now we're in the Buzz and we're in the Riley Center on the second floor, down in the basement level of the Riley Center is where the BV is, as you know, as somebody who edits the BV. So those two of our really important student media organizations are completely separate from the Jandoli School physically. And so I think it's important that we bring all of that together, because one of the things that's changed over the last 40 years is how much more integrated media is. It's not siloed by platform, it's together producing across platforms. So in addition to the Buzz and the BV, we'll have SBU TV there, tap into Greater Olean, and whatever else comes along to work together in a one joint newsroom to bring all those things together. So right there with that will be TV broadcasting, podcasting, radio, and all kinds of other, and digital media, of course, coming out of there. So we'll really bring all those things together, so a student in the future won't be necessarily think of, I'm either part of the radio station or the newspaper or TV. It'll be I'm a journalist, I'm a communicator, and all those things are ways we tell stories and communicate and share information. So that's going to be a big change for students, an important change.
Yeah, and I already see that collaboration. If we think of me, Nate, who is on the board right now, Tom, who's behind the scenes running the live stream, all three of us are in the radio station, but we also do tap into Greater Olean, but we also do the BV downstairs, which is our student-run newspaper. So this collaboration is already set with students, but a physical space could really make it easier, and also collaborating with faculty. Being close to our BV and Buzz advisor, Carol McNall, being able, when we have an issue, to go up and see her right up in her office.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll make a big difference. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes students are so focused on, okay, they're working for SBU TV or the BV or whatever. And so they're so focused on producing that, we don't sometimes take a step back and think, oh, you know what, this could also be really good if we produced it in this way for that platform. So having everybody together there, I think will really inspire some new, additional collaborations and ways of telling stories and sharing information.
Yeah, and I know in the past I spoke with Rich and Ann Lee, who are both amazing faculty here, where they have collaborated TAP in Greater Olean and SBU TV for election coverage. Exactly. So just having this physical space could really up the community and how we can better serve our area and better serve our alumni.
Absolutely. Dynamic duo is what I call
yes.
Ann and Rich, because they do such great work and have really taken a lot of initiative to try to find areas to collaborate with SBU TV and others. And it's just one of those things that sometimes just having the physical space to do it. I mean, TAP is a good example of a really important organization for the school that doesn't really have its own a place for students to work. They have, a little office, and that's about it. So having a space where they can kind of stretch their legs and do some of those things would be very helpful.
Yeah, of course. So kind of on the topic of student media and students being involved in media here on campus, besides the physical space, what does this really mean for our student media organizations?
Well, I think part of it is it's really putting them on display and showing how important they are to our school, to our university. So for folks who, when you're thinking about the plans, like, part of what's going to happen to the Murphy Building is an expansion to the front to create that kind of collaborative space with a big digital newsroom for all those organizations, plus a new studio space, new radio station space, podcasting space, all those things. So that will be there as really the first thing you see when you come to the Jandoli School, because it is so important. As when you talk to alums, they talk so much about the experience they had here at WSBU or at the BV or working with SBU TV or those, and in the future will be TAP, added to those things and all the other things that our students do. It's such an important part of the student experience because it's where you get your hands-on experience. So it's where you take the classroom learning and all the work you do in the classroom and apply it and build your skills. So when you do graduate, you are ready to hit the ground running in the professional world.
Yeah, and this the new equipment would be a game changer for all student media. The BV, established in 1926, they're turning 100 years when these freshmen that just came here are turning seniors. The Buzz is turning 75 years next year. So we have some big milestones coming up, and being able to have that new space could really upgrade the ability of the radio station, the BV, SBU TV, and what they can do to serve our community and beyond.
And I think that's a really good point, Cassidey, is these aren't just student activities or things students get an experience. They serve the community. So whether it's the music or news or information programming and women's basketball games and other things that come from the Buzz, that's an important community service for people. Same thing with the BV, providing news and SBU TV and TAP, all those things that provide really important information, news, coverage, stories, all those things for the public, for the community. And we're in an area that doesn't have a lot of news coverage. And there's the Olean Times-Herald newspaper, and our students, from working on the working with TAP and BV and everything, is that that is a real important news source for this community. And certainly over the last couple of years through the pandemic, TAP in particular has done such important work informing this community about really life and death kinds of information. And so that work is vital for this community, Olean, Allegheny, in this area. So having, it's not just, student club or student activity, it's a real public service. And that's the mission of journalism and communication ultimately, is to serve the public. And so these things that our students do matter. They matter a great deal for this community.
Kind of piggybacking off of that idea, how does this campaign and a new facility help you guys educate the next generation of journalists better?
Because it's about providing the facilities to do it. It's about providing the kinds of spaces, the equipment that are going to be reflective of where students are going to go in the world. One of the things we don't have right now at all, we have a fantastic strategic communication program. We have a new major in communication, social justice, and advocacy. We have a great AAF competition team, American Advertising Federation competition team, and we have zero place for that part of our program. So a big piece of what we're going to do with this new facility is create an ad agency, or marketing communication agency setting for those students that's reflective of what it would be like if you're actually in an agency. It's not going to be a classroom with desks and chairs and very structured that's used for everything else. It's going to be a space that really relates to the type of work they're doing, the creative space, the collaborative space that they're going to need, and be able to produce the kind of work that they'll able to showcase for when they get jobs, for their ad competition team, for our marketing communication consultancy we have. So all those things, it's going to really shine a light on that part of the program as well. We also, one of the other really cool things I'm excited about that we plan to include in the renovation is a virtual studio. So that's important for our video production students, as well as the strategic communication advertising students as well. So, again, as media evolves, we want to make sure that we're evolving with that. So having a space that can, that can transform. A lot of what we see now in visual communication is virtual in terms of video and the backgrounds and green screen. People may be familiar with. So using that kind of technology and having that will be really important for our students as well.
Yeah, what I keep hearing from you, faculty, other students, alumni, is that journalism is a very hands-on kind of major, and communication is very hands-on. So having to learn in the space that you will be working out after college is a game changer here. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's all about, what I always talk about with prospective students and incoming students, it's about accumulating experience. So what gets you a job in communication and journalism is what you can do, and your prospective employer knows that from your portfolio, from the examples of your work, clips, is what people used to talk about in terms of newspapers, resume reel and broadcast, campaigns you've done, all those things. But we now, package as a digital portfolio. That's how you get a job, because people want to see when they're going to hire you that you can do this. And so that's so important for our students, and it's getting that hands-on experience that allows them to produce that. But the great thing about being in college is you also get lots of feedback. That doesn't always happen in the professional world. And that's what, between getting involved with our student media organizations and then having the great faculty that we have kind of work in concert, is really how students develop those skills to then have those great portfolios, get great jobs, and move up very quickly in their careers.
So what makes you the most excited when you're thinking about this coming up and all these changes that are happening? What really makes you just light up?
Well, I love the designs and what we talked about, but I think for me is, for a long time, people have talked about, going back to Russell Jandoli, about what's now the Jandoli School, is the crown jewel of the university. So if you think about the academic programs at the university, Jandoli School are graduates who have been so successful, or really make us probably the best known academic program at the university. And so having a facility that really shows that. So when people walk up, oh, this place is special, when they come to the Murphy building. I think that, for me, is what will be most gratifying, to see, like, this is a facility that's reflective of the great school that we have.
So I'm going to jump into some submitted questions that we received. So we talked a little bit about the name of the campaign previously in the article I wrote, and how just alumni from the J School are bold, and that they're always punching above their weight class, if you say. So how do you envision connecting alumni with aspiring journalism students so that they can hit the ground running from day one?
Well, I think probably the biggest strength, certainly one of the biggest strengths that we have, is our alumni network. They're phenomenal. I think anytime you talk to an alum, it's what can I do to help? And that's so important. And it's what makes this program so good, the personal connections, the connections throughout the years that people have, alums that graduated, decades before, helping people that they would have, probably not know otherwise. That's so important. So that network, that mentoring is so important. One of the things that we want to do that is in our strategic plan is to develop a formal mentoring program with our alumni. So that's exactly how we would tap into them and find, students who are interested in their career path and putting them together. So that will be very important. We always love it when we have alums that come back, talk with students. I know our students appreciate that. That's helpful. Certainly, sharing, student work and letting prospective students know about the Giandola School matters a lot to our students because, because it's important that we have students that really want to be here and excited. And I think a lot of, just talked to, prospective students this morning, and, people often talk about we know somebody who went to Bonaventure, went to Giandola School. Wow, they really love it there, and they really had a great experience. So that helps a lot as we want to continue growing the school. And obviously, with the campaign, it's important that folks contribute what they're able to contribute to help us get this done. And that's really important. We've been very, very fortunate so far with some major donors that have come forward. We had a person, and I think this is really amazing, somebody who's not a graduate of the Giandola School, but knows how important the Giandola School is to the university, and they contributed $2 million to the project. Is our first major gift for this. And I think that's important for a lot of people out there to keep in mind. You have to be a Giandola School alum to support our project, and and my hope is all the folks that recognize how important the Giandola School is to St. Bonaventure will say, this is an important thing to support, and that will make a difference. So it's everybody supporting our students, and it will help students for a long time doing this and creating the kind of place that will allow them to be successful, but also, to be very frank, it will help recruit students because they will see how important the Giandola School is to St. Bonaventure, the kind of facility we have that will be as good as any in the country.
Yeah. Some background. When I was a prospective student, Dean Chimbel actually connected me with some of our great alumni. Bob McCarthy from the Buffalo News, legendary political reporter in my mind. I still talk to him to this day. He's mentored me throughout my career here. And he's one of the main reasons I'm sitting here in front of this mic at the radio station today talking about this campaign. So just being able to support students, alumni, and the school in general just can really set us up for success 40 years from now, when maybe journalism has changed completely different, like it has already.
Yeah, well, that's why it's important to have this mindset to be flexible and adaptable, and to really think about where things are going, and not just, okay, what do we need to do right now, but how are we moving the industries forward?
So another one of our submitted questions was, where do you see the future for journalism graduates going forward, and not just their first stage of their advanced career?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, I will say, in journalism specifically, of course, we have a lot of graduate, a lot of students from our program going to aren't journalism majors or strategic communication, sports media, video production, those kinds of things too. But for journalism specifically, there's a lot of options. I'm always surprised, in a great way, about the jobs our students get coming out of school. Jobs that I'm jealous of the opportunities they have, the first job. So we have a lot of students that go into local journalism, newspapers, TV stations, digital outlets, all that, but a lot use those skills. The great thing about journalism and communication education is it's skills that are so valuable for pretty much any organization, because everybody's a media company now, or media organization and communications organization, because we can all share our own stories. So students go, corporate world, they go nonprofits, so all those places. But what, in terms of long term, what we want, and we see this a lot, certainly with our students who go into advertising, they move up very quickly. And I think, it's the skills they get here. One of the things, which is still a huge focus of our school, going back to when Russell Giandola started, is writing skills. And the really strong writing skills our students develop here, that our faculty drill into the students. I know you may have some memories of classes like that. Those skill set our students apart. So when they're in the work, people are like, wow, this person came from Bonaventure, they can really write. So that helps them move forward. But it's as I was mentioning before, it's also the mindset of being innovative, trying new things, using that great foundation of skills, but to push the industry forward. And I think that's why you see, I think, when we see the success of our graduates, going back, the 70 plus years of this school, we call, our program, small but mighty, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not the biggest program in the country, but we're certainly one of the best. But the success is because of, the foundation that Russell Jandoli laid, but also the Franciscan values of the university. And when you think about what the world needs, it needs communicators and journalists who are compassionate, who have an open mind, who want to make a positive difference in the world. And those values aligned with the great writing and ethical communication, plus now how we're moving our students forward as innovators, that sets people up to be successful. And that's what you see with our graduates.
Yeah, and you really, when I was speaking with the dynamic duo of the Lees, richly just described the faculty down our little hallway. He just said they're bold. They're bold like Bonaventure is bold, and just those Franciscan values coupled with the amazing faculty that we have and their skill set has helped us grow so much as journalists, as student journalists, student communicators, and just really prepares for success right after graduation, whether it be December or May.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is so important, our faculty has a lot of professional experience. So it's people who have done it, that are teaching things that they have done in the real world. And that makes a difference too for students as they're going out to ensure they are well prepared to enter their careers and thrive.
So I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but when will construction start? And do we kind of have a completed time frame of when we'll start seeing this revolutionary school being built?
Well, if I had total control over everything, it would be tomorrow. but the reality is we're in a campaign and raising money, and so we need to raise more money to get this done. Again, my ideal world would be going tomorrow, but the reality is we've had as I mentioned, some very generous donors come forward already. We need more generous folks to come forward to support this project specifically. And then to help us get going, I think, to be transparent, the earliest I think we would really get started would be around May 2024. So 2024, 2025 is, the campaign end date, official end date of the campaign is May 31st, 2025. So we need to get all the money raised by then so we can get the project going, ideally as soon as possible. Because, again, as we've talked about, media is changing quickly. So we want to be going as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I really consider any donation to the Jandoli School, whether it be funds, time, effort, or just being a megaphone for the voice. Yep. You're not only supporting a great facility in Bonaventure, but you're also supporting student journalists that are going to hit the ground running as second they come out of here and really change the world and work towards making this kind of place a better place. So jumping into our last submitted question, how does journalism fit into the idea of mass communications here at Bonas?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I really appreciate it. I know the person who submitted it talked to me a little. We've talked about, what her question some, and it's important. Journalism is the foundation of the Jandoli School, and I think it will always be. And it was certainly when Russell Jandoli started the journalism program in 1949, it was, journalism foundation. But what he also understood was how the industry evolves. And so actually in the, late 1970s, he decided to change the name from Department of Journalism to Department of Mass Communication, recognizing that the industries are evolving and changing. And so on one hand, we will always have a journalism focus, and we have, journalism major, broadcast journalism major, sports media major. That's largely a journalism program. Graduate level, we have sports journalism and digital journalism. So we have a lot of journalism programs, and that is crucial to our school. And it's, a big part of our identity. But as Russell Jandoli, I think, recognized in the 1970s, there's a lot more we need to do too. And so we recognize that our, advertising, public relations part of our program, corporate communication, leadership at the graduate level, these are all important pieces to the school. I'm really excited about our video production program. That's generating a lot of interest. We had a prospective student here this morning who's interested in that program. And because the way we share messages, as we've talked about, has changed a lot, and the ability to do that and create those messages goes in a lot of different ways. But at the core of the Giandroli School is doing that in a clear, ethical way. So, all of our students take a core of writing courses that is, grounded in journalistic writing. They take media law and ethics, so they know their legal rights, but also ethical responsibilities and how to do that in the right way. And so I see journalism as, I'm really heartened by the work our student journalists do, because the world needs good journalism. But it also needs beyond just, actually, you were at the Hellinger, you remember Denise Doran Van Buren from the class of 1983, our alumna of the year. She talked about is in her career in public relations for a public utility, how important it was that she be ethical and bound to the truth, because she could have, as she said in her speech, she could have, if she wasn't, her boss could end up in jail. So it's not just about, these principles apply to journalism, of course, but also apply to the rest of our school as well. And we're about truth telling. We're tellers of truth. If people see our promise, they will see that we have up in our building and online, that I think really explains what we're about, about telling the truth across different types of media and communication. But I will die on journalism being a big, important part of our school, because it's the foundation of how it started and will always be, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That kind of ends off where we are talking about today. But before we officially end this great interview series, do you have anything else that you wanted to kind of talk about that we feel like we haven't really touched on so far?
I would just emphasize, we have fantastic alumni that are so important to the school, and they love to give back to the Giandroli School, support our students, and supporting this campaign is such an important way to do that. That will help our students for a long time going forward and make a real difference. And again, as I mentioned earlier, really show how important the Giandroli School is as a centerpiece, as the crown jewel of the university.
Yes. So I'd like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in and learning more about this campaign that I'm very, very happy about.
I know you're excited about this one.
I'm excited.
It's most important for you.
Yeah, I can't be not excited as the school I'm in 24/7.
You're not unbiased about this one.
Yeah, it's hard to be unbiased when I'm a student journalist here, and I basically am in that building day in and day out. So I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to Bona Noon News, sorry. And I would like to thank our special guest, Erin Chimbel, the Dean of the Giandroli School of Communications, for stopping up here and being able to talk more about this great campaign. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day listening to WSBU 88.3 The Buzz.